Hi there, smart drivers, talking to you about distracted driving, that which causes crashes. Not as many as you would like to think, but still causes crashes. What is it? And defensive driving skills that you can put in place to keep yourself safe when you're driving. We're talking about distracted driving. This is one of the most challenging aspects of learning how to drive a car because social pressure to hurry up and go when you're driving is very real for new drivers. And for new drivers learning how to drive, and Blessed, for example, there in Hawaii had some of the same issues that I'm now talking about, is that you have to pay attention to what you're doing. You have to focus on what you're doing. You have to ignore the other drivers that are honking at you, giving you the stink eye, honking their horns and flashing their lights and telling you that you're number one and you need to hurry up and go because you are in their way. And this is one of the distractions. This is a mental distraction, that there's something outside of your vehicle in the driving environment that is distracting you, and that is very real. And it's not something that we can measure, but it is definitely that is something that you're going to have to deal with when you're in your vehicle. All right, good resources to have a look at. 5 defensive driving skills. These will definitely put in skills and abilities for you to deal with distractions, and not only your own distractions, but other distractions of other drivers on the roadway, because we've all seen many drivers on their phone or looking at their telematics screen doing something that they shouldn't be doing while they're driving their vehicle. Okay, space invasion, space in front. If you're not near anything, it's less likely that you're going to hit something, and you can always control the space in front of your vehicle. So have a look at that video as well. Cell phones. When we think of distracted driving, this is what comes to mind, is cell phones. In the last 10-15 years, cell phones have made tremendous inroads into our lives. Every one of us is carrying a small computer around in our pocket. And I always think of that line from Jumanji, which is pretty funny, where the guy had been stuck in the game for like 10 or 15 years, and he says to the girl, he says, "Does phone mean something different in the future?" And yes, it very much does mean something different in the future, and it definitely means something different for our cars. So anything that you're doing, talking on the cell phone, texting on the cell phone, using social media, Instagram, Twitter, X, the social media platform formerly known as Twitter, all of those is distracted driving when you are in your vehicle. Telematics, the stereo, navigation system, vehicle systems, and accessories are all available now through a touch screen in the center of your console in your vehicle. And as I was saying in the introduction, the reason that they do this, auto manufacturers, is because it's less expensive than putting in the individual components in your vehicle, putting in a stereo system, putting in a GPS system, putting in all of the other gauges and dials that you need on your instrument panel. All of this can be done on the telematics now, and it is distracting to drivers. And I've rented a few cars over the years, and when I travel with my kids, my son has always been responsible for finding the radio stations, doing the navigation in the car, and those types of things, because you cannot drive and do it. So therefore, if there's something that you need to do, looking something up, you got lost, you passed the exit, you need to make some changes to your GPS and whatnot, pull over to the side of the road and fiddle with it there in a safe place where you're parked, not while you're driving. All right, types of distraction: visual distractions, billboards along the roadway, strange events, nice cars, pretty people along the roadways. And there's a video here, you probably can't find it, Corey, but of me, I was distracted. This was a year or so ago, a woman skateboarding down the roadway, and I don't know why I was distracted by it, but it really did distract me. And I came through the intersection. Unfortunately, I was maintaining that space in front, and the car in front of me had come to a stop on the other side of the intersection. And I looked up and I was like, oh my God, I had a bit of a heart attack, heart failure, as I'm on the brakes and the ABS are engaging on the vehicle. So manual distractions, eating, drinking, GPS, the radio, podcasts, anything that you're doing inside of the vehicle, reaching for something that one of the children dropped in the car and trying to pick that up, or getting your phone out from underneath the seat in the vehicle. These are all manual distractions. And then finally, cognitive distractions are anything that creates brain fog, fatigue, road rage, and inebriation. These are all types of distractions, and it's not just cell phones. It's anything that takes your attention away from the task of driving. Now, I'm not saying, and don't misinterpret me, that when you're driving, that every second you need to be hyper focused on the task of driving. Driving ebbs and flows. What you need to understand when you get experience driving is when you need to pay attention and when you don't need to pay attention nearly as much. But there are times that you really have to pay attention. You have to be on the proverbial red alert. Going through intersections, for example, there is a lot going on at an intersection, and you need to be scanning and interpreting what traffic is doing at that intersection. Okay, so strategies for keeping yourself safe from distractions, your own distractions, and distractions of other people on the roadway. Manage space well. Have situational awareness. Who is behind you? And one of the disappointing questions that I asked, no, the question wasn't disappointing. The response to the question that I put on the community tab last week was that, can you prevent being rear-ended? And over half of respondents said, no, there isn't anything you can do about being rear-ended. And that's unfortunate, because you can do something about being rear-ended. You can have situational awareness. When you're sitting at the light, when you're stopped somewhere, you're looking behind you and determining whether the person behind you is actually going to come to a stop. I am convinced that most people who get rear-ended are not paying attention to the rear of their vehicle. They're paying attention to what's going out the front of their vehicle. They're not paying attention to the rear, especially at intersections. So situational awareness and paying attention to traffic signs. What information are traffic signs giving you that are going to change traffic patterns? And by understanding and predicting traffic patterns, you can understand the actions of individual road users. For example, getting rear-ended. You're coming up to a roundabout and you come up and you come to a stop. One of the things you need to be doing is you not only need to come to a stop and observing what's going on in the roundabout, that you need to give way to traffic that's in the roundabout, but you also need to be looking in your rearview mirror and making sure that the person behind you is also coming to a stop, because that person behind you may not be looking at the traffic in the roundabout. They're staring at their phone, they're distracted and whatnot, and you come up and you stop to give way to traffic in the roundabout, and they drive into the back of you. That is something that you can predict. That is something that you can do, and you can continue. You can slow down back from where you actually want to stop at the roundabout. Make sure, tap your brake lights, get the person's attention behind you, and then creep forward until you get to the edge of the intersection, and oftentimes that will prevent you from being rear-ended. All right, hands-free calling. For new drivers who are on a provisional license, you cannot use hands-free. You can have no electronic vehicles in your vehicle. For those of you in your whatever state you're in or whatever province you're in, look up the local laws, because it is going to differ from state to state and province to province about whether you can use electronic vehicles hands-free. Most people cannot on a provisional license, okay? You can use your navigation system, but make sure that you have it set up before you get going in the car. And if you need to do something or tweak it or change something, pull over to the side of the road and do it on the side of the road, okay? Do it in a safe place. Don't risk being distracted while you're driving, especially as a novice driver, okay? Put your phone away. If you can, are you one of those people that just cannot not look at your phone, okay? If there's a text, you have to look at it, okay? Put it away. Put it in the back of the vehicle where you cannot get access to it until you are done. There are now driving modes for newer phones where you can have it turn off automatically and go to do not disturb when the GPS detects that you're driving your vehicle. So that is another option for your phone as well. Road trips, okay, have stuff available in the car that's going to reduce distractions. Gum, drinks, food, those types of things. Games and stereos and your podcast setup and whatnot, and your playlists and other things inside the vehicle. Don't be reaching around and fussing around in the vehicle while you're trying to drive down the road. Okay, strategies: 3 to 5 second following distance, stopping in traffic back 1 vehicle length, mapping and tracking intersections. More than 40% of crashes happen at intersections, and this is where you're going to get into trouble. and this is where you need to pay the most attention, especially with summer coming on right now, owing to the fact that electric scooters, vulnerable road users, bicycles, motorcycle riders, weekend warriors pulling caravans, pulling boats to the beach and those types of things. There's a lot going on in intersections, and you need to look ahead, map and track the intersections, understand traffic patterns as they move through the intersection, and who at the intersection is potentially going to cross your path of travel. All right, technology to reduce distractions, especially on long road trips. Cruise control, and if you have adaptive cruise control, put that on as well with lane assist. That's as close to a self-driving vehicle that you're going to get. Put those on, use those technologies to reduce distractions while you're driving out on the highways. Good luck on your driver's test, and remember, pick the best answer. Not necessarily the right answer. Marion, I just turned the sound off on my phone before I start driving. Yes, that's excellent. And one of the other things you can do to reduce distractions if you're using your nav system is to be sure that you turn on the audio on your navigation. So it'll say in 500 feet, turn right at the next intersection, turn right at Smith Street. That will help you as well to reduce distractions when you're driving and you're using your navigation system. So that is one time that you should have your audio on to assist you when you're driving. Fernando, I'm currently going for my G2 and I'm in driving school. My online class has been recommending me your videos, and I wanted to say that you've been helpful. Fernando, that is absolutely awesome, my friend. So glad that we can help, and good luck in your driver's test. When is your driver's test for your G2 there, my friend? Sam, mirror signal shoulder check? Yes, and make sure that you're checking what's behind you as well, because I do not agree with the poll. I do not agree with the consensus that if you get rear-ended, there isn't anything that you can do about it. Now, saying that, let me qualify that there are accidents. There are times that you're going to get rear-ended. There isn't anything you can do about it. The bus crash that I'm working on right now, the people that got rear-ended, there wasn't anything that they could do about it. I mean, they had to be really, really paying attention to understand that they were about to get rear-ended. But there are many occasions where you can look in your rearview mirror and you're like, oh my God, there's a car coming. I need to get out of the way, and you need to figure out where you're going to go. So, leave yourself an out. You can't be right up against the car in front of you, otherwise you don't have an out. Fernando, your test is July 10, so you got a couple, 3 weeks before your test. You get some work done. That's excellent. Elevator fan, I see people on their phones while driving down the highway. Yes, a lot of people do that. They get on their phones and they're talking while they're driving down the highway. I personally don't like talking on my phone while I'm driving the car, even hands-free. I don't feel like I'm paying attention to my driving, but people do it all the time. And, I've talked to people while they're on their phone, while they're driving on a highway or whatnot. I'm not comfortable doing it. And generally I will say to them, hey, can you call me back at another time? Marion, I really enjoy beeping at someone in front of me when the light has changed to green and the driver is still sitting. Yeah, give them a little toot. Beep, beep. Can you wake up? Let's go. You're nervous for your G test, Sam? Sam, you're going to be just fine. Just do a bit of practice. You got time between now and then, and you're going to get it done. So distractions, we talked about the different kinds of distractions. Visual distractions, we're talking about that one first. Things outside of the vehicle that you're looking at, so that you're not looking at your scanning pattern, you're not interpreting traffic patterns, and you're not looking for and understanding the actions of individual road users while you're moving up and down the roadway. These are visual distractions. Billboards, lights, signs along the roadway, anything that is happening in traffic that's unusual. Somebody doing a wheelie on an electric bike. I had that happen a week or so ago. Kids on their electric motorcycles going down the road right in the middle lane doing a wheelie. And, like I said, I don't know how this is going to be a big job for policing, because this has become a huge problem within traffic, is these electric vehicles. And the other thing about them is they're affordable. I mean, what's an electric bicycle now? You can pick one up for what, $3,000? That's pretty affordable for a vehicle. And a lot of people are going to be riding them. I think that's what's going to happen is in the summertime, we're going to have to move to a European model of traffic. We're going to have to allow lane filtering, and, we're probably going to see an enormous reduction of speed limits. We've already begun to see reduction of speed limits within cities and metropolitan areas where they're reducing speed limits to 20, 25 miles an hour. This is going to become even more widespread as we're moving to try and reduce the number of fatalities among those riding electric vehicles, skateboards, scooters, bicycles, motorcycles, because essentially that's what they are. When I was young, they had mini bikes. Now, instead of having two-stroke engines on mini bikes, they have an electric motor, and they're quiet, they're fast, and they're weaving in and out of traffic, and they're daredevils on the roadway. And oftentimes they're not wearing helmets. I saw a woman today on an electric bicycle that came around the corner, and she's doing like 20, 30 kilometers an hour in the bicycle lane and not wearing a helmet. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. 8773, I have a lot of emotions when I drive. What do you recommend for me? Breathing. Know that other people, when you're driving, are going to be boneheads and they're going to do dumb things. If you know that they're going to do it when it happens, you can say to yourself, okay, that happened. Say something bad about their mother and then carry on. Take a breath, get a grip, get calm awareness, because if you continue to be emotional when you're driving, it will eventually create that cognitive distraction that's going to cause you to crash. And I can tell you, it's a humorous story now. It wasn't a humorous story at the time. I was riding my bicycle, and as you know, when I'm driving my car, I am very calm. I have calm awareness, and somebody does something dumb, I'm like, yeah, whatever, just go and do whatever. So I was living in Melbourne, early 2000s. I rode my bicycle back and forth to school, and when I'm riding my bicycle, I go from 0 to jail time in like a nanosecond. I just like lose it. And I was having a really bad day. A lot of things had gone wrong. So I'm riding home, and you rode up to a T intersection where my route was. You went across the T intersection, over the sidewalk, and through those steel posts onto another roadway. Anyway, I'm coming up to the T intersection. Somebody cuts me off in a car. I start cussing them out. I'm waving my hand, and I ride through the intersection. It was a green light. I get over the sidewalk, and I ran right into the metal post because I had been emotional and riding my bicycle, and I was looking back at the driver of the car and cussing and swearing at them, and I couldn't have done it had I tried, but I rode right into this post. Bent the front wheel on my bicycle, bent the fork on the bicycle. It cost me a couple $100 to get all that replaced at the bicycle shop. And so this is what happens when you lose your cool when you're driving and are in traffic. It clouds your judgment. It distracts you. It is a cognitive distraction. You get brain fog, and the 4-year-old and the 27 lizards take over. We go into primate brain, and we are not thinking clearly. So know that if you get emotional when you're driving and you don't practice some breathing, trying to calm down, having some calm awareness, something's going to happen to you while you're driving. So this is my suggestion to you, is to breathe. Say to yourself, okay, that happened. I'm carrying on with my life. We can say something bad about their mother, because I'm not a saint when it comes to driving. I say all kinds of things about other people that I shouldn't say, and especially slow drivers, people that can't drive the speed limit. That just is my pet peeve. It just drives me crazy. Yeah, Marion, 0 to jail time. That's me when I'm riding my bicycle or I'm walking and somebody, especially the people that nose into me on a left-hand turn when I'm crossing the road, that just drives me crazy. Elevator fan, if you drive distracted on a driver's test, you will fail. You are absolutely right, and let's hope that you are not distracted on a driver's test. Most people, I suspect, are going to be hyper-focused when on a driver's test. Distracted driving, what is it? It's not just cell phones, eating, drinking cell phones. As one safety officer said some years ago. Visual distractions, anything outside the vehicle that's going to take your attention away from driving. Manual distractions, eating, drinking inside the vehicle, reaching for something, using your nav inside the car. And then cognitive distractions, anything that causes brain fog, inebriation, emotion, road rage. We had a big discussion about that. Things that are gonna, stymie how you're thinking when you're driving, and not allowing the 4-year-old and the 27 lizards to take over and cause you to do something goofy when you're driving, keeping yourself safe. Distractions, there's a lot of them. Keep space in front of your vehicle. Know that you're going to be distracted. Don't use cell phones. Try to be calm when you're driving. If somebody else does something goofy, say, okay, that happened. Carry on with your life. Be safe, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. All the best. Bye.